Can you sing? No.
Until I know who I am, I keep dancing with my heart.
Hey guys, welcome to the harbor. Welcome to the studio. Today an entire full in the studio day. Unfortunately not making music. Today I first had to take care of a lot of business stuff, taxes, lawyers, and I have to take care of even more contracts and taxes. I just want to get rid of all of it before leaving on vacations to Ibiza and party hard, meet all of the DJs. So I think it's time for a Q&A. So the first question is probably best answered here in the vocal booth, and that is actually, which is the best microphone? That's really hard to tell anyone, because I haven't tested all of the microphones on the planet. No one has. And every single microphone has a different purpose for a different voice, a different instrument that you have to record. So there is no answer. All of these gear questions, which gear is better and which should I get, are very, very subjective depending on what you want to do. So I never ever give advice on these kind of things. Would be like asking someone, should I buy the Porsche or the Toyota Corolla? I mean, both will drive you, both will get you from A to B. One of them will be a lot more expensive, but maybe way more fun. But if you want to go racing, the Porsche will definitely always win. The Toyota's way, I mean, you get the point. So with microphones, I think a classic one that a lot of studios own is the Shure one, SM7B. That's the one that Michael Jackson, I think his first album was recorded on. And this is really good for podcasts. It sounds very bass heavy, really nice. And then we got here our more typical studio microphone. This one is an Ashton mic, which I really like. It sounds a little vintage and looks really cool. And we got here a modeling mic. This can model in software to sound like a lot of really, really expensive classic mics that are 10,000 bucks and up. And right here is my very first microphone. This is like an entry microphone, AKG 220 Perception for like, I think like 120, 150 bucks. It's really nice overall if you don't have the budget. If you have the budget, go for something like this, like that. Really just inform yourself and get what you feel is right for you. And also, of course, what's right for the job. But yeah, next question. Where do I get good vocals besides Splice? I mean, yes, Splice is a nice source for vocals, for vocal chops, vocal snippets, just words. I would recommend using it, especially for beginners to train and get cheap vocals. But if you get to a point where you want to release professionally, it's kind of a little like embarrassing to use Splice vocal samples. If it's like full verses, choruses, like main parts. If it's in the background, it's fine, no one will notice. But if your like main vocal of the song is a Splice vocal, it's guaranteed that other people will have used the same. And then there are multiple versions of the same song out there. And you will get a lot of trouble with like the YouTube fingerprint, SoundCloud algorithm detecting these. You won't be able to make any money from it in the worst case scenario. So I would definitely recommend doing it the classic way. Try to find your own vocalist, singer, songwriter. The first option would be family and friends. The second, online, random strangers, YouTube singers, cover singers. Same on SoundCloud. It's a little annoying because you have to write at least 20 to get like 2 that answer, and one of them will actually be interested. And your quality has to be already up there. Otherwise, they won't say yes. So to actually answer the question, also to get good vocals, you have to be good as a producer. The third option is actually the little bit more professional one, and that is either getting top lines by a publisher or making your own top lines by inviting singer and songwriters over to your studio. Those are also the 2 options that I use for all of my vocals for the past 3-4 years, actually. Best reverb for vocals. For that, let's head over back to the studio. The simple answer would be just Valhalla Vintage Verb, my favorite reverb, and I see lately a lot of other producers also using only the Valhalla Vintage Verb or some of the other Valhalla reverbs. They're just amazing. I don't know what they do to it, but you just slap it on and it sounds good. And this is not sponsored by them or anything like that. As you know, like from day one, having like 0 subscribers, I use the same reverb all the time. It's just really, really good. If you don't have it, try and get it. I will link it down below, as well as all of the equipment that I use if you're interested in that, software and hardware. How would you approach a vocoder effect? I've used a vocoder on my recent song, Love or Let Go. That was the one that I made here really, really fast, like my most productive session ever. I will link it up there if you're interested. It's really like one of my most amazing days as a music producer. And I used the vocoder by iZotope. I forgot the name, but I'm pretty sure you can. I will just link it down below. Have you ever used dynamic multiband compression on vocals, or wasn't it needed? Like multiband, I'm not a fan of multiband. Like, I don't know, maybe for mastering, it's really good if you have to control a lot of frequencies. If you have a sound that covers most frequencies, you can go in there and compress all of these frequencies differently. And that's really, really amazing for mastering, of course, because you get the entire song, so you can decide to compress just the low end and lose bass by doing so, and leave the rest alone mostly. On vocals, honestly, I haven't used it yet. I might try it out, maybe it's good, but vocals are pretty narrow in their frequencies. I mean, yes, they have a wide range, but like the peak of the vocals is very mid-focus. So I would just use a normal compressor, and using a dynamic multiband compressor, I would rather use a dynamic EQ that helps a little here and there. I'm unable to mix it with the track. It's sticking out. Yeah, a classic one. If it's sticking out, usually option number one is decreasing the volume, because it's just too loud, it's sticking out. If you then decrease it and it sits nicely in the mix, but you can't hear it, then you know that there's something wrong with your mix. Usually way too much elements in the mid-frequency range. That's a very common problem for EDM producers, because they usually start without vocals, making instrumentals, and they're used to fill the mid-frequency range with synthesizers. But once you get vocals, good vocals, you want them to be the focus, the star of the entire song. Just compare it to some other huge tracks that are played on the radio, on the big festivals. Whenever the vocal is playing, everything else is like fading away. There are less elements there, the vocal is big in the middle, and once the vocal is gone, usually something else replaces it. It's like on a stage, 4 people on a stage, one of them is in front, and once he goes, someone else can take the spot. It's the same with the vocals and main synthesizers. Do not let them play at the same time, because then the listener, the brain, can't focus on the main thing. How do you mix the reverb? That's a good question. That shows that someone already knows that you need to mix the reverb, because some people just slap it on, but you definitely need to EQ it. Cut away the low end usually is always a good advice, and sometimes the top end if there's too much going on. And then of course, make sure that the reverb is not too long, especially on things that are like main parts in the mix. For background sounds, yes, there can be quite a lot of reverb to make them atmospheric, but on vocals, keep it medium, because if the vocal has too much reverb, it just goes too much into the back, and again, it needs to be up front, but not dry, because that sounds awkward. If I use the royalty-free vocal pack, can I still release it with a label? Yes, 100%. That's why they are there. You can just use them. But again, you run into the problems that other people might also use them. Can you sing? No. Funny story. I recorded my voice once singing. I listened to it on the computer. I laughed really hard and then deleted it. But like deleted everything. I don't want to hear it ever again. I sometimes do like speaking stuff in some of my older, more underground kind of songs, but singing, no. How to clear vocals from background noise? That's pretty simple. I would put a noise gate on top if it's noisy. So every time the vocal isn't playing, the noise gets faded to 0, or actually to infinity minus. There are really amazing plugins that can filter out noise. There's one also by iZotope. RX is like the entire suite, and within there is like a noise reduction and also clicking and other noises, declick and something, deplop, and all these kind of things are part of it. Just put them on there. It's amazing what they do. Even like this video, without the denoise on it, and with the denoise. Like, it helps a lot, and it's just like one knob, you just turn it up, that's it. How to record and mix decent vocals with a noisy mic? Just get a new mic or check your cable connection, sound card. It shouldn't be noisy. What also helps is like just getting more gain into the mic, so sing louder, record hotter. This way the ratio between the signal and the noise will be lower in there. Or again, use this noise removing magic plugin. I will also link that one down below actually. Is it always necessary to have vocals in your track? Most of the famous tracks have vocals in them. No, it's not necessary, never. You can make an instrumental work the same way a vocal song works. Yes, vocal songs are way more successful. It's just in the nature of us humans. We relate to the human voice way more. And with voice, there are also words and a meaning. In instrumental, you unfortunately don't have that. And I know there's Vocaloid, like a plugin that makes human voices. That might be an option for you, but it sounds really like, it has like its own characteristic. It still doesn't replace a singer. And sometimes instrumental tracks can be really successful. If you check out Alan Walker's Faded, it first was an instrumental song, got to a big YouTube channel, got a lot of plays, and then a huge major label, I think it was Sony, knocked at his door. They recorded vocals, remixed the entire song, made it sound really professional because previously it didn't. And yeah, huge hit. And also, for example, Eric Prydz Piano song was also in the charts. I think it's like one of the highest topping chart song ever that was a full instrumental. But also for this one, they later on recorded vocals. What's your vocal processing chain? This video is like way too short to cover all of that. I also already did it, linked up there. The best way to get a singer, we already had that. How do you mix your vocals? We already had that. How did you process vocals in a track? We already had that. Tell us one tip about mixing vocals. Okay. What a lot of people underestimate is how many layers you actually need to make a vocal sound really fat. It sounds like one, but it's never one. There are always doubles left and right. There are always harmonies up and down, octave up and down, and sometimes even artificial harmonies and artificial octaves below or up. And usually a vocal has at least like 5 tracks mixed together to sound like one at the end, but it's never one. If you just record one track, it's never going to sound fat. If the vocals you get from a singer are really bad, how do you respond? That's a tough one, especially with girls. I feel really bad, but sometimes, yes, they just do not perform. And it's so bad that there is no fixing, so I don't even bother giving them feedback. I usually just straight up tell them that it's not good enough for what I'm intending and leave it at that. I think that's the best, to be honest, even if it's sometimes brutal, sometimes hard. You don't have to be cruel and say it's shit and don't sing ever again. Just say it's not good enough for what you expect, because that's the truth. And I think people should be able to handle the truth. Someone has to tell them the truth. Otherwise, they will go to one of these American Idol kind of singing shows, stand in front of the jury, and they are the first ones telling them the truth and embarrass themselves. Like, this is happening non-stop on these shows. It's just because mom and dad and like sister and like the friend, they always say, yeah, it sounds really nice. Yes. So like, don't do that. Be honest with the people. How to find the right volume for vocals in a mix? That's hard to answer. It really depends on the instrumental. Just like mix it by how you feel about it, test it on other speakers, and compare it to other songs. And I think it's pretty easy actually. If your mix is clean enough and there is not too much in the mid frequencies going on otherwise than the vocal, it should be pretty straightforward. How do you mix your vocals? Where to get vocals? I think the rest of the questions are just repetitions, so I will cut it right here. If you want to ask me anything, just click down below in the description onto my Instagram. I usually try to answer everything there. You can also just drop a comment down below and maybe someone else will answer it. Maybe I will answer it. And we will see us tomorrow back again here in the studio for another DJ Producer Daily Vlog. Thanks a lot for watching. Again, software, hardware, all linked down below. Sign off.